Welcome to Together in Style Home Edition. A lot of families and friends are celebrating Passover and Easter right now. So I'm going to share with you a little recipe that I absolutely love, and so many friends and family love it too. So this year we happen to be visiting family, so I'm going to be able to bring this sweet treat over to them. And I'm not only going to make sure that we have a great treat for the adults, but also for the kids too. So I'm going to share with you my Jennifer's famous coconut macaroon recipe. It's so simple. Basically what I'm going to start out with is a 14-ounce package of sweetened coconut. So let me just pour that into the mixing bowl. Very good. And when you're creating this, if you want it to be kosher, there are certain brands of the sweetened condensed milk that are kosher, like the Carnation. So I'm going to just basically pour a half of this can of Carnation in. That looks just about perfect. Great. And because I'm going to be making two different batches, I'm going to make the first batch and then I'm going to separate it and finish the rest. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a teaspoon of my vanilla. We'll pour that in here as well. This is such a simple recipe, and because I'm visiting people, it's easy to do right before so they're nice and fresh. So after we have the vanilla in here, all I'm going to do is just add a pinch of salt. So just a little. Very good. And I'm going to take and put on my utensil here to mix this up. Make sure that your mixer is locked, and then just start to beat it around. It's nice if you feel like the recipe is a little too dry, you can add a little bit more of the condensed milk, but you don't want it too moist. You want it to be more like a thick type of a paste when you're working with it. So this looks just about perfect to me, so I'm going to stop this. And now that we've mixed up the batter, all we're going to do is we're going to separate it into two different batches. And that way I can make the little nest for the children, and I can make the adult ones for us with the chocolate chips in them. So what I'm going to do is just take a nice spoon. Let me take this off too before I make too much of a mess. All right, put that right in here. I'm going to take half of this mixture. And you can see that it's fluffy and it still goes together, but it's not too sticky. All right, so that looks about half. And what I'm gonna do next is just take a little bit of this green icing. You know the fun little grass that are in the Easter baskets. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of emulate that by taking this nice leaf green. And this is actually icing dye, so it's a little bit thicker. So basically I'm just gonna take a little end of a knife and just kind of push it in there a little bit. Good. Great, and mix it all in. I think that when you're doing something like this, it's always nice to go a little bit darker, and that way when you're baking it, the color still stands out well. Okay, so let me just mix this around. All right, so now that we've gotten all this green mixed in, I'm going to actually just go grab a cookie sheet. Now, I've made this recipe before many times, and I've actually used a couple of different baking sheets. And I have to say that my favorite way to make these cookies, just because I like the coconut a little bit toasty, is to use a baking sheet with parchment paper. So I've done with the silicone, and unfortunately it just doesn't come out as crispy as I'd like it to be. And I just don't trust the non-sticks. So the parchment paper is definitely my go-to for this. So I'm just gonna get my fingers a little damp. Perfect, and I'm gonna take just a spoonful of this. Perfect. And basically if you think kind of like a meatball size, that's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna kind of make a little bit of a ball here, and then you're just gonna press it in to make a little nest. So these are gonna be perfect. So all we're gonna do is just continue this for a couple of rows, and basically, once you make this little nest, you're gonna bake them right in the oven. The nice thing about these type of cookies is that they really don't spread. So however thick that you make them, that's exactly how they're gonna come out the oven. So you just wanna make enough room that you can stick a couple of the candies that you'd like to have in them. Also, I chose to have two different types of candies. One is actually like little chocolate type of eggs, and the other one are jelly beans. So the kids will have a choice of whatever it is that they like. They'll go well with the coconut flavor. But really, you can do anything that you want. There's so many different types of candies nowadays that they do in shapes of eggs. So let me just finish this last row. Perfect. Now that I've put that in the oven, I'm going to make the second batch for us adults. So let me go grab my baking sheet. So again, I have my parchment paper right here, and I'm going to actually put my mixing bowl back into the mixing station on the KitchenAid. Perfect. And let me get and rinse this off. Great. I actually had gotten a little green food coloring on it, so we're gonna put this back into the mixing bowl. Good, lock that up. And basically what I'm gonna do for this batch is I'm going to put in some chocolate chips. And since it's a half a batch, I'm only gonna put a half of a third of a cup of the mini chocolate chips. Beautiful. Okay, so now that they are all mixed, I'm gonna take this out. And basically what I'm gonna do is do the same thing. I'm just going to take my spoon, scoop it up, and make a little ball and just lay them out. Like I said, this is so quick and simple, and they only bake for 13 minutes. This is such a great go-to recipe. It's great for any holiday. You can spice it up with any type of flavors. And I think this would even be really cute if you took maybe some really pretty white colored chocolate that had the pastel tones to them, and maybe dip the ends in them when they came out of the oven. So there's lots of little fancy things you can do to add and spice them up and to make them your own, and be creative with it. So let me finish up this last one on this row as well. These are so delicious. Everybody always asks me for the recipe, and they are so surprised when they find out how little ingredients there are in this recipe. So a lot of times I just even have all these things in my pantry. So it is fantastic to be able to make a cookie with such little ingredients and have it be so delicious. All right, so I've made our batch here, and they're all settled here. The little tip to make sure that these stay nice and round and look really perfect and are about the same size is kind of roll them in the palm of your hands, but make sure your hands are wet. So if you need like a little finger bowl of water, if your sink's not close by, do those types of things to ensure that your hands will be nice and sticky free, but also the coconut and the condensed milk is not gonna stick to you. Perfect, let's put these in the oven. Great, I'm gonna put my kitchen timer on. Kitchen timer's on for 13 minutes. And so basically at this point now, I'm just gonna clean up all of my dishes and the mess that I made. And when they come out of the oven, it's best to just put them on the top of the stove, let them cool for maybe about, I don't know, a minute or so. But before they get too cold, put on your toppings. So make sure that you put on the little jelly beans or the chocolate little eggs on top of the actual little nest when they are warm, because when you do that, they're going to kind of just stick a little bit. The sugar will caramelize to the actual nest, and they'll make sure that they stay on top. So that was a really great way to celebrate the holidays and to have a quick recipe that is not only beautiful, but is absolutely delicious. So I invite you to enjoy your holiday season together in style.